be quite brief, so we will have more time for Q&A. My name is John Prabhudoss. I'm the chairman of the Federation of Indian American Christian Organizations here based in Washington, D.C. We released a report for 2021. The report was released last month. We have documented 761 cases of documented attacks against Christians over a period of during the calendar year 2021 in India. That is several times, at least 3 times more than what we recorded the previous years. It's the situation is not getting any better. In fact, the 761 may seem like a small number, but that's only recorded and reported incidents. There are, we estimate, at least 3 times that number is not reported for various reasons. The report is available on our website, FIACONA.org. It will be available in Amazon also, if you wanted to take a closer look at what the report says. Now, I want to shift gears here and want to just quickly mention a couple of things before we get into the Q&A. So India is critical for the interest of the United States, given the China factor. Okay, that much we all know. We have been told that over and over by officials visiting U.S. From India, by our own American political leaders and people in the State Department have repeatedly said that India, we don't want to alienate India. And that was evident last couple of weeks ago, 10 days ago, when President Biden met with the Quad leaders in Japan. That's all good. We should have. I don't think if I were to be making a decision from that vantage point, I would not be doing much different. But here is what we need to keep in mind. We need India for the long term as a long-term partner for the U.S. interest in not only Indo-Pacific, but also internally in India. Civil unrest in India, given the developments in the past few years in India, indicate that India is going on a very dangerous path in Asia and South Asia. It is not a new path. Pakistan had gone through that path. Recently, Sri Lanka and Myanmar have gone down that same path, and now India is traveling down that path. So it is a concern that people would say, well, India is a democracy, it's the largest democracy in the world. We need to celebrate that, sure. But remember, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Burma were not dictatorships. At least Myanmar in recent years have been a democracy. And Sri Lanka and Pakistan could be said that they have had regular elections, even though Pakistan has a checkered past. But we can't say that about Sri Lanka. So democracy doesn't mean a democratic election, holding democratic periodic elections in a country doesn't mean that it's going to be a country that would value the democratic principles. The U.S. we want to see there is another angle to it. With all these developments in India, still there is a strong push to look the other way, to not to really call a spade vis-a-vis India. And we need to look at where is that push coming from. We need to recognize that push. That push is coming from very well-funded Hindu nationalist extremist groups operating in the US as advocacy organizations, as business entities, as entities that are promoting democracy, and all those different forms. Like our friend Ajit says, it's not a wolf in sheep's clothing. It's a wolf in wolf clothing coming and telling you it's a sheep. So that's what's happening with the diaspora of Indian Hindus in America. And one of the examples I can tell you is a Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy. Now, we have been very careful about not outing him, but it has come to a point where his background, the people who are supporting him, the people who are funding him, are all proxies of the Hindu nationalist radical groups that want to make India as a Hindu nation state, like the Buddhists who wanted Sri Lanka as a Buddhist nation, like the Muslims in Pakistan who wanted an Islamic state in Pakistan. That's the same mindset. That's the people who are behind that campaign, that we need to recognize that before it gets really too out of hand. The Hindu nationalism has infiltrated the US establishment very well, very succinctly. I mean, they come to the Capitol Hill, come to the US administration officials and talk about how great the Hindu religion is, which is true. Hindu religion, there is nothing wrong with the Hindu religion. The problem is the Hindu nationalism, which is a radical form in the name of Hinduism. They will come and talk about the yoga and get you a stretch pant and make you sit down on the floor and do a yoga with them. All that is good. But we should recognize that this is not the group that wants to keep India as a democratic state with democratic values in a country respecting democratic values. So we failed to do anything about this. When we recognized, when we saw, we all knew what was happening in Pakistan or Sri Lanka or Burma. In Burma, it's a checkered past. In Pakistan, we all knew how the country was going down the tube. Yet our officials, our diplomats kept saying that no, we should not say anything about Pakistan because it is still a democracy in some ways. It's holding elections. It has a judiciary, and most of all we need Pakistan's cooperation to fight the terrorism in Afghanistan, or to keep the Soviet Union out of the former Soviet Union out of Afghanistan. Those were the arguments for the national security interest of the United States. Same arguments, similar arguments were made in Sri Lanka. We failed to say anything, recognize or say anything about it in Pakistan. We ignored the developments and sided with the wrong party in Sri Lanka. And we thought Myanmar was mature enough to handle democracy. In all three cases, we have failed, and we have a messy situation in those countries. Now, if India gets anywhere even close to that messiness, it's going to be very ugly. It's not going to be a problem that's happening in another part of the world. Remember, there are 4 million plus Indians living in the US, and they have very deep connections both in India and here. So we have a quick recommendation that while we recognize these developments, I think we should also look at what we can do about it, and what the Federation of Indian American Christian Organizations have been asking is that we identify the bad actors that are being the driving force behind this kind of a slide in India, and target them with GLOMAG and other tools available. And what it takes political will to do it. And we strongly recommend that we recognize it and we put a few of these bad apples on notice and hope for the best. And with that, I would like to turn it over back to you.